Hello and welcome to yet another episode of That's Absurd, Please Elaborate, the show that is lightly comedic and usually smart. Sometimes it isn't smart also. But anyway, we do sciencey things where we
lightly
answer your
smart.
questions. Lightly smart. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah. Honestly, we should have just called the show that. Lightly smart.
Lightly smart.
Smart, diet smart. That's what it is.
Smart, but without all the calories.
Right. I'm one of your hosts, Trace Dominguez, science communicator and professional nerd. And here with me today, we have a guest, Jaida Elcock, who is a PhD candidate in biological oceanography. As she would put it, annoying woman on the internet, but I don't think that's true.
No.
And then you're doing your PhD at MIT with the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution as a partner. Is that correct?
Correct. It's a joint program for different PhDs. So there's like chemical oceanography, physical, blah, 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 all that stuff. But it's like the MIT WHOI joint program.
Cool. I mean, those are some big words that you got in there. So you're bringing a lot of elevated sciencey stuff to this ridiculous podcast. So thank you.
Well, we'll see. Yeah.
Also here is Julian.
Yeah, me. I'm the third one here today. Jaida, really excited to have you on because for this episode, we are deciding to observe the international holiday that is Shark Week. And as I understand, sharks are kind of your bag. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. It's funny because actually my favorite animal is the elephant, but I know the most about sharks. Elephants have been my favorite animal since I'm a kid, but I think elephants are my fun animal and sharks are my work animal that also happen to be fun. But I know so much about sharks and I'm happy to tell you literally anything that you want to know about them.
That is so good because I am a huge Sharks fan. It was a terrible last season for them. Literally the worst team in the league, but I'm so excited to have someone who's ready to talk about like the free agency signings they're going to do.
Okay, it's the headphones on top of the helmet that's really killing me. And I see now why you were like, oh, wearing headphones is going to mess up my bit. It didn't. I can promise you that much.
Julian is wearing full Sharks regalia from the hockey, for those who can't see him.
The San Jose Sharks. They follow me on Twitter.
Do they? I used to work for them 10 years ago.
I no longer use Twitter, but they followed me on Twitter, and I was like, LOL, that's so random, but I love that. Because I don't know anything about hockey, except for like people lose teeth because of fights. That's all I got.
Much like sharks. I think that's why they named the team after the organ.
You know what? If there was even a little bit of that in the discussion of naming the team the Sharks, I would be so proud. I would eat a shoe.
That'd be pretty great.
Wonderful.
Well, if this is your first time listening, as usual, I'm sorry. And Julian just did a gag that only works visually in an audio medium. So we're going to keep going with our very first question, which also comes from Julian. Julian, what is your question?
So Jaida asked this question, actually, as our guest. You know, we always do one from our guest. So Jaida, technically, I'm going to throw it to you. What question did you have for me?
So yeah, what adaptation that is completely absent from sharks would you add to sharks? Like, why would that be the best one? You know, an additional superpower that you would give them, you know, a prehensile tail, mammary glands, flight, anything like that. And I think this one's hard because there's so much shark diversity already. Like there are over 500 different species of sharks. There's venomous sharks, bioluminescent sharks, biofluorescent sharks, sharks that lay eggs, sharks that give live birth. And so this might be a hard question because what else could you possibly give them? But if you had to give them something, what would it be and why?
Well, obviously ice skates, because it's very hard for the team when they can't skate in hockey. It's a disadvantage.
That's fair.
I thought you were going to give them frickin' laser beams, which is a totally relevant, up-to-date reference.
I have in my notes laser beams in their heads, parentheses, elder millennial joke. So,
I may be technically Gen Z, but I did get that one.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Oh, we're still relevant, Trace.
Yeah, no, we're not. That's okay.
But Jaida, as you mentioned, this is hard. Sharks are quite diverse. And you brought up some things I didn't know about. Sorry, venomous sharks?
I didn't know that either. That's cool.
Yeah, what?
Well, you've got spiny dogfish, and they have spines. Imagine that, on their dorsal fins. And if you get pricked by them, there is a type of venom within it. It's not anything that's like super strong. I've had a friend get pricked by one and she was like, am I going to die? And I was like, are you a sick Victorian child? No, I think you're going to be okay. So, yeah. So some sharks, like, you know, sharks that have those kinds of spines, they have venom as well, which is kind of cool.
It only kills sick Victorians. It preys on the coal dust in their lungs.
Exactly.
That is their comorbidity.
They're running out of prey resources. I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, the end of the industrial age in England really hurt the spiny dogfish populations.
I've been pricked, me lord.
Mr. Scrooge, I can't see my family because I touched a dogfish.
This is insanity.
Yeah, that's kind of the par for the course.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I love it so much.
Okay, so because there's such a huge variety of sharks and different superpowers that, may be down one particular avenue or another, I tried to go through all 8 orders of sharks to kind of categorize all the different superpowers to make sure I wasn't going to, show up thinking I was real smart with something, and Jaida goes, actually. So, let's start with some general, overall things that we know about sharks that I think would fall in the superpower category. And that probably the first one is the teeth. All the teeth.
There's a lot of teeth.
And how much they use them for biting and hurting things. So sharks have not only, depending on the type of shark, but they have these sharp teeth that are great for biting off arms and such. If you're say, a great white shark that has a bite force of over 4,000 PSI, at least we think so. We've never actually measured it, but with computer modeling, that's what we think they have. So they can use these teeth for tearing up prey, and famously also they regenerate teeth, which was surprising to me. Well, I mean, I knew that, but I started wondering, I never really thought about why. And it turns out that teeth of sharks are not like our teeth. They're not rooted into the jaw of the shark. They're actually modified scales.
That explains why they look so cool.
Yeah.
Their teeth and their actual scales are very similar. And so the scales on a shark are called dermal denticles, so skin teeth. And so I like to tell people that sharks have skin teeth. What's crazy is whale sharks also have them on their eyeballs. So they have eyeball teeth.
What?
But anyway,
What?
That's
What?
that was a relatively recent discovery. I just think it's super crazy.
Who hurt you,
yeah.
whale sharks?
Right. Probably just to protect their eyeballs. I don't know what their eyeballs are eating, but so they've got these dermal denticles, and there's kind of a debate on whether or not it was the denticles and the scales that moved forward and became teeth, or the teeth that moved back and became scales. We don't really know which direction it went in. So regardless, their teeth and scales are quite similar, and we think of their scales as basically modified teeth, or we think of their teeth as modified scales. I think it kind of goes back and forth. I personally believe that the scales are modified teeth, so going from the mouth outward. But again, I don't think that that's known for sure.
I think this is funny because it's kind of like a rabbit hole where you've got you've got the scale teeth, and then teeth become the scales, become the teeth. And so it's you've got the mouth, which is now I don't know. You just keep going down. They've got skin teeth, and then they've got mouth skin teeth, and then the mouth skin teeth might have become their skin. It just sounds like an endless
it's an endless cycle of chicken or egg.
I was going to say,
Inception.
I propose we replace chicken and egg with mouth teeth or eye teeth.
Mouth teeth. Well, the eye teeth we just discovered, so maybe they
mouth
started on the eyes.
teeth.
Mouth teeth versus skin teeth.
Yeah, skin or teeth. Okay, so they've got the teeth and the strong jaws, which are not fused to their skulls, by the way, right? They're just kind of floating, and most of them can project them forward, and some of them, like goblin sharks, have this really extreme forward movement that they use to actually create a low-pressure zone inside their mouth and suck prey into it, so they can vortex feed a little bit. They've got, what else do I have? Excellent vision. Yes, Trace.
I have a question.
Trace.
From Lisa C. from Wisconsin, who emailed us literally yesterday while we were recording this at the end of June, early July. Have shark jaws ever been dislocated? Because they're not attached.
I fear they are perpetually dislocated. As
Yeah.
I'm not great at anatomy. I am a movement ecology person. But the jaw is attached through one of those. I can't remember if it's tendons or bones. I'm really bad at anatomy, like I said. But yeah, they kind of lunge forward. But I feel since they aren't fused to the skull, to the cranium, in the same way that our jaws are, and we kind of our jaws fit in a specific way that if it moves too much, then it becomes dislocated. I'm not necessarily sure how that works for sharks. I have seen sharks with some pretty wonky jaws before, But
So maybe they can get like kind of. You gotta like slap them on the side of the head and get in there.
Broken, dislocated. But I guess the entire set of jaws is perpetually, I guess, quote unquote, dislocated. Not necessarily in the way that like now something's wrong, but just in the way that it's like it's not connected.
It's not located
necessarily.
So it's not really dislocated.
Exactly.
You can't be dislocated if you're not located to begin with.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The thinking
ligament, by the way, bone to bone, tendon, muscle to bone.
There you go.
Okay,
Yeah.
I still don't know which one that would mean because I feel like it would be a tendon because there needs to be a muscle to move the jaw to begin with. So I think it's connected with tendons.
Maybe.
I'm going to go with that too.
Sure.
Science.
Let's go with it. Science podcast. Let's go.
See, even a shark expert is like, I'm not 100% sure. I'll look that up and get back to you.
Exactly.
That's the point of books and things to be able to look them up in. You're not supposed to memorize everything. Anyway, Lisa C. from Wisconsin, bonus question. You just happened to email at the right time. Good job.
Boy, this hockey jersey is getting really hot. Hold on.
You silly man.
What's crazy is you went from the ocean, kind of, sort of, with a Sharks jersey to space. And now you're wearing a NASA shirt.
Space sharks. Wait, spoiler. Okay. So,
What?
No. Okay, so along with the teeth and the jaws and the suction feeding, they also have excellent vision, possibly even in low light. They have a reflective layer inside their eye called the tapetum lucidium. Did I say that right?
I don't know. I've heard so many people pronounce it so many different ways. I say the tapetum lucidum, but maybe that's wrong.
Tapetum lucidum. That sounds way better.
But it's what's in your cat's eyeball.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Animals, if you ever shine a light at night, you see like reflective eyes. They have the same thing, a tapetum lucidum that reflects light within the eye and amplifies that low light and makes it easier to see in the dark.
I'm never going to forget it now. Tapetum, I hardly lucidum.
Oh my, what?
That's the mnemonic. That's the mnemonic. Now
Trace
I'm going to remember.
has a penchant for bad mnemonics that somehow still work.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Wait, do you want to hear my favorite one?
Yes, please.
Yes.
So the northern grasshopper mouse, its name is Anicome leucogaster. And I was in a mammalogy class and I had to remember this, but I had to be able to look at the specimen and be like, that's Anicome's leucogaster. And so I would look at it and I'd be like, okay, Anicome's, because one of the kids in the class kept saying Onichomes, which was not correct, but I thought it was really funny.
That's great.
But then the little specimen looked like it was like blasting off to space. So I would say Anicome's leuco blast off. And it made me remember leucogaster. And now here we are.
See, mnemonics are great even if they're bad. I love it.
Yes.
I'm thinking of the Victorian child again, who's like, did somebody Anicome's leucogaster?
What?
Like, so did somebody steal their leucogaster? This poor Victorian
they
child
nicked him,
has
'cause they nicked it.
leucogaster.
Who nicked me leucogaster?
Anicome's leucogaster.
Somebody nicked it.
That one took me a
God.
minute.
That was worse. That was worse than mine.
That was worse.
Mine was better.
I mean,
Mine was
I'm not
better.
going to argue with you, but that's also how I'm going to remember it.
Anyway,
I don't know if I don't even remember the common name of the thing that Jaida described.
the grasshopper
The
mouse.
northern grasshopper mouse.
Right. No, you mean Anicome's leucogaster, obviously.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, now I know what you're talking about. Of course, another superpower that sharks have that always trips people out is their ability to sense electric fields.
Cool.
Using the ampullae of Lorenzini, which is one I know how to pronounce.
There you
Also
go.
a good band name.
Did
Yeah.
I? Okay, good. There are little electrosensitive pores that they have all over their snouts that you can actually see quite clearly. And they're sensitive to any sort of muscle contraction, right? Which means if you have a beating heart and you're changing the electric field around you, sharks can detect that. They're insanely sensitive to changes in electric fields. And like I said, that means that if there's any sort of muscle contraction, which for a lot of us is involuntary with our heartbeats, they can tell that you are there, thanks to these little organelles.
Thanks, heart, giving me away every time.
Every time I see a shark in my heart, be still my beating heart, lest it attack me.
You would lose hide and seek with a shark literally every single time.
Yeah.
They could find you with their eyes closed. That was a bad joke. It wasn't even really a joke. It was just
wasn't
a
even a
statement.
joke.
But anyway.
And a lot of them can't even close their eyes, as we'll get to.
That's very true. That's very true.
Creepy.
There are, like I said, some things that they don't have, right? Like fish, bony fish have swim bladders. So they can control their buoyancy and stay neutrally buoyant, which means that they can just chill, at one point in the water column without having to swim forward. Sharks do not do this for the most part. They either have to basically keep swimming to keep generating lift with their little pectoral fins, or they can settle onto the ocean floor. But if that's the case, they usually have a special adaptation called a spiracle on the top of their body that lets water flow through and pass over their gills, because otherwise they have to take in water through their mouths. And if their mouth is on the ocean floor, that's not a very effective way of getting water over your gills. So that seems like an oversight, but maybe not necessarily, as I'll get to. And a lot of them can't close their eyes. There is something that some sharks have called a nictitating membrane, which they can basically move up like an eyelid to protect their eyes when they're biting down on something. But many of the most famous sharks, like great whites, do not have a nictitating membrane. That's actually how you can distinguish them. If they're in the lamniformes clade, they do not have that nictitating membrane. But if they're in the carchareniformes, they do have a nictitating membrane. They can cover that up. So carchareniformes includes bull sharks, tiger sharks, cat sharks, so a lot of animal shark species, and then hammerhead sharks. And hammers, fun fact, not an animal. Carchareniformes, by the way, that literally translates to the shark-shaped sharks. Which
I don't think I knew that. That's really funny. But no, it's so real because those are the most like stereotypically like shark silhouette sharks that there are.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if you look at a sandbar shark, they're in Carchareniformes. I'm like, that's the shark. You know,
It's a shark.
Yeah, that's the ideal. This is what ideal shark looks like. You may not like it.
Yeah, geez. Those are the ones on Instagram that get all the clicks.
Yeah. So, but if you're close enough that you're looking at the shark and you're like, do you have a nictitating membrane or not? Like, I'd be worried personally if I'm like, is this a great white with the nictitating membrane? Lamniformes also have thresher sharks amongst them, which have an insanely long dorsal lobe of their caudal fin, and they actually slap fish around with it to stun them.
Which
So
is cool.
add slapping as a superpower to the list of things that sharks can do.
thresher sharks are my favorite sharks because one, they look like they're too afraid to ask for ketchup at McDonald's, and I think it's really funny. They look terrified all the time, or they're like, "Oh, I just remembered I have an assignment due at 11:59, and it's like 11:15. I have no
You're
time
right.
to write this essay." They look
You
terrified.
just Googled it.
Yeah,
They definitely are like,
they're so scared. But then also, it's a shark that hunts with its and that is funny to me.
That is funny.
Yeah.
and that
also,
is funny.
it is. But
It is.
the thing is, like, that's crazy is they don't just, like, use their tail to, like, whip to the side. They, like, stop on a dime and whip over the top of their head like a scorpion sting.
What? That's so cool.
That feels like not the most efficient way to do that. But, I mean, if it works, it works. I mean, maybe they do also whip to the side. But I've seen so many videos of them going, like, over the top of their head. It's crazy.
I mean, maybe they're just afraid to go to the side because they're like, oh, I can't go that way. I got to go this way because I can see it. Oh.
Yeah.
That is my voice for the thresher shark, by the way.
I think that's the correct voice.
Yeah. They'll poke their own eye out and they don't have the nictitating membrane.
Put somebody's eye out with that.
My own.
Oh, my eye.
So also in this group are sand tiger sharks, which, remember I said that, sharks don't have a swim bladder? Well, sand tiger sharks actually gulp air from the surface and they hold it in their stomachs and they can use that to stay neutrally buoyant. So it may not seem like a superpower, but, not having to keep swimming or you die, I think is important. If somebody was like, your weakness is you must keep swimming forever, I feel like that's a minus. But one shark doesn't have to. Yeah. So, therefore, I thought maybe swim bladder would be an easy out. Nope, can't do it. There's one that basically has reappropriated its stomach to act as its thing, giving it neutral buoyancy. So that's off the table. Cool. Oh, also in this group are mako sharks, which are some of the fastest. The short fin mako shark can get up to 31 miles an hour or 50 kilometers an hour or 46 miles an hour, 74 kph in short bursts. They also have the largest brain to body ratio of any shark.
Oh, I don't think I knew that one.
Are there any experiments on shark intelligence that you can think of? Because I'm thinking maybe that's a route.
I know off the top of my head, there's an experiment that looked at social learning in juvenile lemon sharks, and there's evidence of social learning, which was really cool. Basically, they target trained some sharks. So like you put a target in the water, the shark goes and it gets food. Fantastic. Then they put a non-trained shark in with the trained shark, and the non-trained shark was like, oh, he's getting fed by going to touch that target. Maybe I should go do that. And then they put 2 non-trained sharks in the water together, and neither of them really figured anything out. They didn't really understand the target. So it was like there was clear evidence of the fact that these sharks were seeing their quote unquote friends learning or like doing a certain task, and they were like, I'm going to do the same task because they're getting food, and maybe this means that I will get food. So there's some evidence of social learning. There's some intelligence for you in sharks.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to cross another possible superpower I was considering off the list. Okay, yeah, this is getting difficult. There's a lot of sharks, as it turns out, and Jade was asking me to consider all of them.
Sorry.
For example, carpet sharks, like the wobegongs, which basically look like you ever seen a ghillie suit that like a special forces sniper might wear?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a special type of camouflage that they basically stick like a bunch of local flora in it, so they look like a bush, and then they just blend in seamlessly. Wobegongs have a bunch of little growths around their mouths, little barbels, that basically to me look like ghillie suits. And so they blend in great, and then they just chill on the seafloor and wait for something to come by, and then they bite it. So add, being invisible and perfect camouflage to the list of shark superpowers.
Yeah, I love their little beards. They're like little sea schnauzers. They're so cute.
Okay, then you mentioned that there are some that bioluminesce and biofluoresce. I wasn't aware that there were sharks that biofluoresce. Can you tell me anything about them?
Yes, I know 2 off the top of my head, the chain cat shark and the swell shark. Basically, biofluorescence and bioluminescence are a little bit different. Bioluminescence is producing its own light. Usually it's like a blue glow. And biofluorescence is basically absorbing light and kind of re-emitting it at a different wavelength. And so these sharks are doing that. We cannot see it with our own eyes, but if you shine like a black light on them or a UV light, they'll glow green. And though we can't see it with our naked eyes, they can. So the idea is that they're maybe using it to communicate with members of the same species, which is pretty darn cool.
Whoa.
That is cool.
That's super cool.
Also, I just looked up the swell shark because I was like, oh, that's a swell shark. But it's named that because it swells up, which is so cool.
It's named a swell shark not because it is swell, but because it does swell. It gulps a bunch of seawater and turns itself into a big old salty water balloon.
Yeah. That's so funny.
It makes it harder for predators to get their mouth around it, or they'll wedge themselves into crevices, and they're like, just kidding, you can't get me, and water balloon.
That's great. It says on the Monterey Bay Aquarium site, it bends its body into a U shape, grasps its caudal fin in its mouth, and swallows a large quantity of seawater. Yeah. Which makes it swell to twice its normal size. And I'm like, look, if I could do that, can I have that superpower? That'd be hilarious.
Sounds like a fun one.
Bloat man.
Bloat man.
Okay, well, more things to cross off the list. I had basically also communicating with each other, but the venomous spiny dogfish that you mentioned, they're also so named apparently because they hunt in packs, which was another thing that I was considering that I had to cross off. And then I was like, you know what? You know what they're definitely not going to have? Have you seen the anime Chainsaw Man?
No.
Basically,
I know where you're going.
The superhero in it, has a chainsaw for a head. And I thought there's no way. There's no way that. Yeah, no, it's true. There are saw sharks that basically have a big saw on their face.
Yeah,
yes. True. Not to be confused with sawfish. Sawfish are a species of ray. They are huge. And sawfish are a species of shark. They're a lot smaller. To tell the difference between a ray and a shark, if it has gills on the underside, it's probably a ray or a skate. If it has gills on the side, it's a shark.
Saw sharks, as far as I could tell, they also have 2 little barbels coming off of their saw. Basically, their saw has a silly mustache that sawfish don't have, as far as I could tell. But I'm going to defer to you on that.
Yes, that is correct. Are you curious at all how a sawfish or a saw shark is birthed?
I mean,
I wasn't until you said that. Yeah.
So a sawfish, they're both born with all of those teeth. So the goal is to not shred mom on the way out. And so the sawfish kind of have this jelly sheath over the teeth. And then when they're born, it kind of dissolves in the salt water. To my understanding, saw sharks do something a little bit different, where basically those teeth are kind of folded up, on top of the rostrum. And then after it's born, they kind of unfold.
I mean, both are very cool.
Yeah. A little jelly sheath. That's so cute. I don't know why.
The jelly sheath is cool. I love packaging. I think it's fascinating. And that's a human thing, obviously. But sometimes nature does stuff and I'm just like, man, that's good packaging. That's just really good packaging.
If you're really interested in packaging, you should look up a horn shark egg. That's some good packaging right there.
Looking it up. Oh, wow. That is good packaging. That is some fancy packaging.
Nice spiral. They use it to like
Super
wedge into
cool.
different crevices so that like predators don't pull them out or they don't like get swept away and things like that. Yeah.
Neat.
Great
Neat.
packaging.
Just
That's
basically
cool.
like a drill. Yeah, like a drill bit.
Wow.
Very cool.
That is
So
neat.
cool.
Okay. So I think we've covered, by and large, all the shark superpowers, at least as far as I could tell from going through the 8 orders. Are there any that I missed that you can think of?
Sand tiger sharks do intrauterine cannibalism where they eat their siblings so that only one is born. Well, I guess technically 2 because sharks have 2 uteruses, but then only one is born from each uterus. And they're like, I'm the strongest of my siblings who were weak, so I ate them. What else can I think of off the top of my head? Super long distance migrations. That's just like a really cool thing. Oh, epaulet shark, obviously, can spend ridiculous amount of time out of the water and they use their pectoral and pelvic fins to sort of walk around. So if you were thinking of
That's cool.
walking, scratch that one off your list. I'm so
Oh
sorry.
man, I had street sharks here, and now
Well, yeah, you said that street sharks were the only land sharks that you care about, and I was like, well, there is one, sort of. Sorry, they call it the walking shark. They're super cute.
Cool.
Sorry, I'm just destroying your list left and right.
It's true. This was a challenging one. Okay, well, I did come up with a couple lists of superpowers. I have one that's absurd, cartoonish, unrealistic, and one that I think is greater chance of happening, but I found some flaws in maybe them actually developing these adaptations. So,
Okay.
let's start with the cartoonishly unrealistic category. Number 1, sharks with freaking laser beams on their heads.
We came back to it.
Who's waiting on that?
I don't know how they would develop this. I don't know what biological mechanism would enable lasing, which is not like bioluminescence or biofluorescence. We've got to like excite and focus like the emission of light from certain elements.
In a very
I don't think that's going to
specific way,
happen.
yeah.
I don't think they're really going to be able to use it for much, right? Like, why? What would be...
Maybe they could use it for getting prey, and then they don't have to chase it around. They just like shoot a laser beam at it,
Just
and then they don't have
laser
to use
at
as
it.
much energy.
Right. Well, I feel like shooting a laser is an extreme amount
Might
of
be
energy.
a lot more energy.
Yeah, now that you
as soon
say
as I
it out
said that,
loud.
I was like, no.
Is it a hot laser?
Especially if it's going to do enough to like actually injure another organism, right? Like as
Yeah.
opposed to just like blinding it and mildly irritating it. I think that's going to be kind of a
That's what it is.
non-starter.
Yeah.
The shark can go and ruin everyone's movie by shining their laser beam onto the screen.
Yeah,
That's
or
what they'll
straight
do.
into our eyes.
Straight into your
If it's-
eyes. Just trying to drive, man. Stop.
I'm just trying to watch
Laser sharks.
Jaws. They're like,
trying to
this
watch
is
Jaws.
propaganda. No.
I can't see an animal rights group doing that to like a shark movie. Be like,
Yeah.
stop it. Protect the sharks.
Sharks are good.
Okay. So I'm going to take sharks with freaking laser beams on their head off the board. Don't laugh at me. Okay, flight. Jada mentioned flight in her question. I mentioned the short fin mako is the fastest mako shark, but that is because they need to be able to take down really fast moving prey like sailfish, swordfish. Long finned mako shark, they have big old pectoral fins that act as wings that, because they generate more hydrodynamic lift, helps keep them from sinking down into the water column, so they don't have to swim as fast, but it's also a lot more drag, so they're slower. But what if these fins got even bigger and then, I don't know, like a high wind weather system, like touched down and like sucked them up. And because they were
Lord.
hydro and aerodynamic, like, hurricanes form over water. So I'm thinking like a shark cane forms.
A
hurricane
shark.
This
Yeah.
is a brand new concept that I've never considered.
and then they used it to somehow attack, I don't know, seagulls or something, and then make it back in the ocean. And then they do this regularly enough that, this adaptation actually happens and makes sense. No,
Lovely.
that's probably not going to happen.
No.
I mean, there are quote unquote flying fish, right? They're not true flyers. Have you ever actually seen flying fish?
I think I have. They're pretty darn cool. What's even cooler is the fact that a lot of shark species will fully launch themselves out of the water. And so it's not flying, but it is very cool. And so I've seen a thresher shark do that, just fully launch itself up out of the water, like 10 feet, crash back down, keep swimming. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. That's to me,
style.
Exactly. I want to say it's cooler than a flying fish, but to be fair, flying fish can go a pretty good distance just in the air. And just to escape predators. So I'm also like, okay, well, how long can they hold their breath? How long can they glide for? Realistically, how long are they physically able to glide for before they have to get back in the water? But how long could they glide for if breathing wasn't in the equation is my other question. I don't have an answer to that question. I'm just thinking about it. So maybe you should ask someone else.
Yeah, if you don't, I don't know. We're just
that should be a question for another episode.
Yeah. I think it's funny because as far as I can tell, these flying fish are eaten by the same fast fish that the short-finned mako sharks eat. So I can kind of seeing it be like everything eventually taking to the sky.
I love that.
But, you know, a lot of things that work well for moving through the water don't necessarily through the air because it adds so much hydrodynamic drag. So put it in the unlikely column. I'm going to switch then to the more realistic things that I can actually see happening. Maybe things that other creatures actually do have. And maybe somehow sharks could develop these through convergent evolution or co-opt systems they already have. So I was thinking, well, they're pretty well camouflaged as it is. Not just the wobegongs, right? But a lot of sharks also exhibit counter shading, where they're dark on top, light on the bottom, so they're hard to see from each direction. What if they kind of stole the octopus's trick of having chromatophores that can expand, right? This pigment-containing cells that some muscles can expand, and they therefore can actively camouflage themselves. And then I thought of the skin teeth that they might have on the surface. And I imagine that might make it basically impossible for this adaptation to coexist with the denticles on their skin. Yeah, exactly. Right? Because the chromatophores have to be expanded by muscles as opposed to just being like pigmentation that's embedded in the skin cells. Yeah, I think that's kind of off the table because of that. Hi, post-production Julian here. So actually, after we recorded this episode, I did a little more digging, and you're not going to believe this. It looks like some sharks might be able to change color. There's been some research on great white sharks, and it does seem that they can make themselves lighter or darker over the course of a day. We're not sure why, but researchers have tested their skin with some hormones like adrenaline, and when they do, they notice that the melanocytes, the cells in their skin that actually give them a pigment, can expand or contract when exposed to certain hormones. So add another superpower to the shark list. Then I thought of maybe sonar, right? You've got a lot of marine animals like dolphins, beluga, that can generate a click and have it bounce off something in the water, and then they receive it back and it goes to their inner ear, and they can actually, echolocate with it. And I actually found a recent video of some sharks making clicks. It's from March 2025. Did you hear about this? Of course you heard about this.
Yeah, I made a TikTok about this. But this is the first time that we have seen sharks actively producing sounds.
Cool.
They need to do a little bit more research on figuring out exactly what the mechanism is. They think it might be like them clicking or grinding their teeth together. Bony fish will make sounds by like rubbing bony parts of their bodies together, which that sounds like an absolute nightmare. Like
I don't know. Once you're over 30, it happens every day, Jaida.
I know. I'm 26. I'm not there yet. I got a couple years, but
yeah. Just you wait.
But yeah, so I just think that shark sound production is obviously new. That, at least to us, but to my knowledge, they're not using it for echolocation purposes. So maybe this is the great new superpower. But if it comes out 5 years from now that it's actually for echolocation, you're going to have to rethink your question again.
It's true. That would make me sad. Or I'm a genius. But here's the problem I see with that. We talked about sharks having detached jaw bones, right? And in the marine organisms that do echolocate, the jawbone is basically a big antenna, right? That vibrates with the sound wave coming back. And because their jaw is connected to their skull, it can transmit that sound to their inner ear. But we talked about how sharks have that non-dislocatable jawbone. So would they be able to actually receive that that sound back and use it in a meaningful way. I don't know enough, but I'm going to say probably not.
I also don't know enough about that. But their entire skeleton is made out of cartilage too. So like, would the cartilage absorb the sound more readily than bone would?
Ooh, I don't know. I
have no
don't
idea.
know. I don't know. So we'll put a question mark by that one.
All right.
Here's what I think is the superpower that will be most useful, that there's the most clear way that this could actually happen and that we've actually seen in other marine organisms. And that is the ability to generate electric currents that can stun prey.
Cool.
I see. There's electric rays. But I don't know that there's electric sharks.
Yes, you're
Not
right.
yet.
So I was looking. Of course, my first place I go to is electric eels, right, which are quite distantly related. And I was like, well, that kind of sucks, but maybe I can see a way that it works. And electric eels, they basically have taken muscle fibers and adapted them to actually, have a separation of charges and then discharge it and generate a current and stun prey. But like Jaida mentioned, they're not the only ones, and there's a quite close relative compared to the electric eel to sharks called electric rays. They're also cartilaginous fish, so they're much, much more closely related to sharks. And a certain genus of these rays, the torpediniformes.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, the look on Jada's face when I said that. The torpediniformes have modified striated muscle. It's adapted from their gill arch muscles, and they can use it much the same way electric eels do to discharge into the water around them and stun prey and eat it. It's not as strong of a voltage as electric eels, but it still gets the job done. And these electric rays, they can also sense, just like sharks, they can sense electric fields, and they can generate an electric field that to sense. Because there are some other marine animals that generate an electric field that can be used for like active detection, but they don't actually use it to shock prey. So that's where I landed. We basically get sharks that I'm thinking, because they don't have that nictitating membrane, they're tired of seals and sea lions poking them in the eye and injuring them. And eventually, that causes them to be less well adapted. But some of them appropriate some muscle cells and use it to build up a difference of charges, of voltage, and they discharge it into the seal and they stun it, and then they can eat it much more easily. And that is my shark superpower that I predict they will have one day. Probably not. I mean, they're perfect. Why would they change, right? But if they were to change any, I think the most likely one that they could get feasibly would be electrogenesis. Jaida, what do you think? How did I do?
I think that you thought so hard about this and you came to a really, really great conclusion. So
thank you.
I gave you a very difficult question and you did awesome with it. So I love this answer, especially because there is a close relative of sharks that already does this. So, I mean, you could have just been like mammary glands because it's fun and like feed your young, but they don't have, whatever, all this like parental care and whatever. But you took it in a way that was like, actually, like, is this feasible and why would it be useful rather than just because it would be fun? And I really appreciate that.
Okay, good. Because I also had one that I think for all the reasons you laid out, you would not have appreciated, which is forehead dicks.
Oh, okay. So really inappropriate ocean unicorn.
Yeah.
Because I found another close relative that has claspers on their foreheads. The ratfish. I didn't start there and look to confirm it. I was doing research.
I feel like the dickhead shark is not going to take off.
Probably not.
It would be really funny, though.
It would be really funny. Instead, we get the lightning shark, which is way cooler.
Way better.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I'm going to end on. But if you ever see a ratfish, don't make fun of their...
They're really sensitive about it.
They're sensitive
They're just doing their best. They're just reproducing.
The clade that they're in is known as basically it translates to the complete-headed fish. So clearly whoever named them was like, they've got everything where they need.
It's all in the head.
That's
It's all in the head.
So funny. I guess I knew like holocephali, like complete head.
There you go.
I don't think that I put that together, that it was, they got everything up there.
They got it all.
Again, I was not trying to find it. I found it accidentally. And I was
Sure.
I'm not sure I believe you.
I don't want to see your internet history.
No, I think what happened is you got the validation you needed for a ridiculous joke.
She knows me. She's figured me out.
She understands how the show works.
All right, so that's my full answer, Jaida. I hope that was to your satisfaction. Thank you for asking it. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Jaida will answer a listener's question.
Heck yeah.
Julian, give me your best dinosaur roar.
Oh, God, an asteroid! It's horrible!
Wow, that was not where I expected that to go. We're popping in before the show to tell you about I Know Dino. It's a dinosaur podcast.
You know, we think of those dinosaurs being this thing that's been dead for tens of millions of years. Even so, studying dinosaurs can still teach us stuff that is relevant to the world today.
Yeah, like climate models to help us understand global warming.
Migration patterns of dinosaur lineages, they tell us about Earth's changing continents.
We can also study dinosaur diets, what plants lived then, and maybe what animals and how they interact.
And, this is super cool, many dinosaur injuries, paleopathologies, they're the first known occurrences of diseases.
And they talk about all this kind of stuff on I Know Dino. It comes out every week with new dinosaur stories that you're not going to hear anywhere else. Like, I hadn't heard of a lot of these, which is pretty cool.
You can find I Know Dino on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever podcasts are. And if you found us, you can probably find them. Go check them out. All right, welcome back to That's Absurd. Please elaborate. Shark addiction.
I am addicted to sharks, correct.
Shark addiction.
I have a problem. Shark edition with our shark expert, Jaida Elcock, who now is going to tackle a question. So, Jaida, what was your question? Who's it from?
The question I got asked was, how fast would the ecosystem collapse or the creature itself die if a megalodon was plopped into the ocean today? This was asked by Hannah.
Hannah?
Wait, Hannah?
Wait.
Hannah.
What's
Hi, Hannah.
Okay, we're going to bleep it. What's Hannah's email?
It's...
That's Hannah!
Hannah, you tricked Jaida! Hannah is devious and wise.
Hannah is crawling up that leaderboard that we don't have yet. But this is like Hannah's third question because she got a whole episode just to herself.
Oh, that's crazy.
That would put her in a tie for second place for most questions answered.
It does put her in a tie because pretty sure Jada's going to answer it.
I
So
am.
Congratulations, Hannah. No, really, though. Good job. These are good questions. Thanks.
Yes, this was a fun question because it kind of gives me the opportunity to just talk a bunch about the megalodon, which is, and I need to clarify this so heavily, absolutely extinct.
Yeah. That's my bad. I'm sorry.
Do you have a question?
Yeah. Hold on. Wait, I want to hear why the megalodon is extinct because of Trace.
It's
Trace,
not really
why are
my
you taking
bad.
guilt for this?
I worked at Discovery when that documentary came out. I was working at Discovery when the Megalodon documentary that questioned whether it was really extinct came out. And a bunch of us who are like actually science people were like, why
You do this.
There was this and the mermaids one that they did.
Oh my
and like
God.
and people were just like, why are you doing this? you as a channel are like, it'd be like if the encyclopedia had a joke page on it and only the encyclopedia knew it was a joke and they're like, look how many people are going to read this page and take pictures of it and share it. And it's like,
Right.
yeah, but now they're not going to trust you anymore, you idiot.
Or NASA had a page of like how we faked the moon landing.
Right.
Right.
Here are the aliens we found.
This is just called spreading misinformation. And thanks, Discovery Channel. Appreciate that. Thanks, Trace.
Oh, I'm sorry. I deleted Shark
Specifically-
Week once. That was my contribution, okay?
I thought when Trace was apologizing, you were saying that you specifically had killed the last megalodon.
Yeah. Caused the extinction.
Yes, I did
That's
it.
how I interpreted
That was my
it.
fault. I'm sorry.
That's funny.
That's what you have to do to make up for the Discovery documentary. You have to go out and find and kill the last living megalodon.
Oh my God. Okay, Jason Statham, relax.
Don't do it. Yeah, jeez.
It's Liam Neeson and he gets a call that his family's been abducted, but by a megalodon. The shark on the other end of the phone is just like, ah.
I do think it would be fun to try and watch Jason Statham kick underwater. Because he's a very good kicker in air, but as soon as he goes underwater, it would just be like,
super good,
very
super good air kicker.
So slow-mo.
Anyway,
the shark's like, okay.
It would be very funny. The shark's like, what are you doing?
What is happening? What is this small fish doing? Okay.
Yeah. Offering me a snack?
Okay. I feel like to answer this question, we should just know a bunch of stuff about the Megalodon. So to start out,
please,
how big did they get? Also, I just want to give a quick shout out to SciShow because I wrote and filmed an episode about the Megalodon with them, and writing that episode is why I know as much about the Megalodon as I do. So shout out to them.
We love SciShow.
We love
RIP
SciShow.
Tangents.
Yeah.
I did an episode of Tangents before they closed it out. Wow.
Well, your poem's in a book
I know.
now, then.
I'm so excited about it. The poem I wrote was unhinged. Anyway.
This is my surprised face.
Yeah. So how big exactly was the Megalodon? There were estimates that it got to about 60 feet or 20 meters long. So that is the largest shark that has ever existed that we know of. These sharks were so big. How exactly do we know how big they got? Looking at their teeth, because again, their entire skeleton is made out of cartilage. There's not much to go off of in the fossil record besides their teeth, because cartilage doesn't fossilize super well. So we've got a gazillion different megalodon teeth. I also have a megalodon tooth, which I think is really cool, and I like to brag about that.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a big one. It's like 5 inches long. I love it. Looking at the size of their teeth, we can kind of compare that to the size of the teeth of living sharks today and try and get an estimate about how big the Megalodon was. So those lamniform sharks that we talked about earlier, the mako, the white shark, the porbeagle, all those good things, those are the closest relatives to the Megalodon. So I kind of think of it as like a solve for X type of ratio equation. Of course, it's way more complicated than that, but we have living shark tooth size, living shark length. We have megalodon tooth size. Now we need to figure out megalodon length. And through all of those complicated things that I don't understand, because again, I'm not an anatomist, they were able to figure out an estimation of about 60 feet long or 20 meters long for the megalodon, which is wild.
Cool. That's a big shark.
It's a huge shark. The thing is, our largest shark today is the whale shark, averaging around probably like 30-ish feet long, but they can get to be 40. Their largest one ever reported was just under 62 feet long, but that's a filter feeder.
Oh, supersize, another superpower I forgot to have on my list.
Yes, supersize is one of them.
That's another one.
Yes.
Okay.
So funny, I actually made a BBC video on YouTube about 7 superpowered sharks. And so there's literally just a list of shark superpowers. I probably should have told you that before, but that's okay.
I'm surprised I didn't find it, honestly.
You did the research all yourself and found more superpowers than I mentioned. Well, I did actually use flight in that as well, but it was with mobulid rays instead. The Megalodon was 60 feet long and a predator. So that's going to come into play when we think about, can they survive in the ocean today? These sharks were also probably endothermic, at least within their head. So the white shark, the mako shark, the common thresher shark, all of those are endothermic to a certain extent. So not every fish is entirely ectothermic. We have certain species of fish, like some of our lamnid sharks, that have that regional endothermy, keeping like their brain warm and everything like that. Their eyes and their brain, especially when they're going into colder water, they want to make sure that they're firing on all cylinders. So how on this entire planet do we actually know that this was probably the case for the Megalodon? Again, looking at teeth. So looking at the stable isotopes and what temperatures those isotopes formed at within the teeth, and then comparing that to the surrounding water temperatures of the ecosystems that the Megalodon lived in, you can kind of see that those isotopes formed at higher temperatures than the water that they swam in, indicating that they were probably regionally endothermic, at least within their head. So keeping their heads warm.
That's really
Isn't
neat.
that wild?
That is super cool.
The things people come up with to test hypotheses are mind-boggling to me sometimes.
Yeah.
They really make my head warm, just like that shark.
Lovely.
Overheating for me, really.
Just smoke out of my ears,
Steam.
trying to understand how stable isotope analysis works. So definitely don't ask me about that, because that's outside my expertise for sure. And now we know a couple things. Let's look at like the ecosystem of way back when times versus now. So we know that the Megalodon was probably a coastal shark. If they lived today, we would see them on our beaches. And that sounds kind of scary, but also, for me, that sounds really cool. So if we were thinking about, a coastal shark and where they would live today, obviously their coastlines back then are different than the coastlines that we have now, which is why we find megalodon teeth in like riverbeds and things like that now. Obviously, the ocean is not in the same place that it was before. There are certain parts of land masses that were fully underwater back then. So they would have to adjust exactly where they're swimming. I guess also I'm kind of thinking about this is if we had a megalodon that existed back then and somehow resurrected that specific individual and threw it in the ocean, and it would be like, oh my God, everything looks so different. Like a time traveling shark, you know? That's kind of how I'm...
not how I left it.
Exactly. It's like when you come back home after moving away to college and your parents turn your room into a gym and you're like, that's not, why would you do that?
That's weirdly autobiographical, Jaida.
Yeah, that's so specific.
Yeah, it's so crazy because that did not happen to me, but my parents do have a gym in their house. So, you know.
It's very specific.
It really was.
And you were really mad at them and you had this conversation while you were at Applebee's and
Exactly.
and then you never got over it.
Exactly. Sorry, Mom and Dad. So anyway, they'd have to, you know, this individual shark would have to make those adjustments. Now, looking at the temperatures that they had to deal with back then versus the temperatures that they would have to deal with now are pretty darn different. So this shark lived during the Miocene and Pliocene epochs. During the mid-Pliocene, the waters were a lot warmer than they are now. So I was looking at a graph that looked specifically at the temperature anomalies during February, and basically the anomalies are much higher, basically meaning there's a really big difference in the temperature between back then and now, specifically at like higher and mid latitudes. So north or south of the equator, those tropical regions looked to be relatively comparable, but at those higher latitudes, temperatures were way warmer. So if you dropped good old megalodon in the ocean right now, it's going to have to deal with a whole bunch of very cold temperatures that it is not used to. It's going to be so cold.
It's going to be so
Even
chilly.
for its warm little brain?
And warm little brain.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to keep its brain warm.
Get him a little, oh my gosh, could you imagine a little
Just little shark mittens.
Oh my God. So
Put a hat on
cute.
him, but it's just on the dorsal fin.
Yeah. With a little bobble, one of the little bobble hats.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a Santa
Yeah,
hat, but it's just
Yeah.
on the dorsal fin.
Yeah,
A toque.
definitely. A
The
toque.
Canadians would call it.
So because these more northern and southern waters are much colder today than they were before, and also the fact that we saw a lot of their biggest teeth, we're finding them at higher latitudes. I think, and this is a concept called Bergman's rule, where basically things get bigger with latitude, or at least how environmental factors like temperature change with latitude. If you think about like a beautiful little Onychomys leucogaster. I just wanted to bring that up again.
Yeah. Oh, no, I know exactly what you're talking
Love it.
about.
If you had an animal in the tropics versus an animal at the poles, a larger animal of the same species at the poles would be able to survive longer than a smaller animal at the poles, because the smaller animals lose heat a lot faster because of the whole surface area to volume ratio thing. So basically the idea is that larger megalodons were found more closer to the poles because they were bigger and they could handle slightly colder temperatures. But given that the temperatures are so much colder now towards the poles, and because those higher latitudes are where we found those bigger shark teeth, I think that if a megalodon were dropped in the ocean, it wouldn't do super well, especially if it were one of the bigger ones. We probably wouldn't see it in the tropics as much. But I think that also if it were a smaller one, it's definitely not going into the poles because it's going to get way too cold way too fast. All of this is to say, a bit confusing. I think that the megalodon, just based off of the ecosystem, is not going to do very well, and it's not going to live very long in our current oceans unless it is specifically in the tropics where the temperatures are comparable to the past.
So you took one of your time-traveling megalodons. You took a polar one that's used to colder temperatures. You drop it in our tropics where it's colder than it used to be, but it's okay. And it's really big. What's it going to eat? Or who?
Well, actually, I was kind of thinking more, if you took a tropical megalodon from back in the day and dropped it into the tropics now, it would do a lot better than a like higher latitude megalodon and you dropped him into our current higher latitude ecosystems. I don't think that one would survive very well. But then, yes, the question then does come up, what are they eating? So everyone thinks that megalodon only ever ate gigantic whales. And that's not entirely true. Did they eat gigantic whales? Probably. But there's evidence that they ate small things too. So they could probably gulp down something as big as an orca in as little as 5 bites. That is insane. I don't even understand.
Finally. Revenge for the sharks on the orcas.
Yeah. Well, I was kind of on the orca side because they were sinking yachts and, you know.
Yeah,
eat the
no,
rich.
I mean,
But
it's true.
that's pretty
Oh, boy.
cool.
But I was listening recently, like somebody was on a trip to off the coast of South Africa looking for great whites. And apparently the place where they normally went, they didn't go to because there had been a pod of orcas in the area that were killing great whites just to eat their liver and nothing else.
Yeah.
And that seems kind of classist to me. That's like foie gras of the sea, you know?
Honestly, wow.
That's exactly what they do, is they just eat the liver. That's like if you're going to go fishing and you pull up a small shark and the only thing that's eaten from that shark is the liver. It was probably a cetacean, a dolphin or something like that, right?
Huh. Right.
Because they just eat the livers because the livers are super high in nutrients. They're really fatty. And so that's like the only part of the shark that they actually care about. But if you were to go fishing and you pull up a small shark and it was bitten in half, that might be another shark.
Yeah.
Well, now I know.
See?
Weird, right? Now, when you go fishing and you pull up a small shark and its guts are hanging out and the liver's missing, now you know who did it.
Yeah, so now I can look really
solved
cool.
the case.
I can look really, really cool and just like reach my hands into the shark. I'm never going to do this. Reach my hands into this half shark and be like, is the liver there? I don't even know how to find a shark liver, but I'm going to do it and be like, its liver is missing. And then
Already one culprit.
you know, it's gonna be good.
Yeah. Move over, Jaws. It's time for melon head. It's the organ on their head makes
Yeah.
the sound is the melon. Yeah.
I was there with you. I like that one.
Yeah, you got it.
I didn't get it.
But somebody who can appreciate my marine biology jokes.
I got you.
Sorry.
Yeah. They normally make Trace so crabby.
Okay.
Wait, I got one. This is my favorite joke and no one ever gets it.
Yeah.
What does a shark say when it's throwing paper into the wastebasket? Woebie.
Whoa, we got it! We covered this earlier! Yes!
That's good. I like it.
Also a basketball reference.
That's great.
Yep.
Anyway.
Oh, wait, one more.
Okay.
Same shark.
One
Ready?
more.
Hey, what's wrong with the carpet shark? I don't know, man. He just looks a little woebegong. Get it?
Yeah.
Because
I
they're
like
carpet sharks.
I like it.
Yeah.
Some of the pictures of carpet sharks, they do look a little bit like,
Look a little sad.
you know, yeah.
They're probably really bored sitting on the ocean floor waiting to ambush something.
They're pretty downtrodden as carpet sharks.
Yeah.
These things walk on carpets. And
I got
another
you.
word for walking is trotting. And so, anyway, tell me more about Megalodon.
Absolutely. Okay, so yeah, they could down something as big as an orca in as little as 5 bites, but they also ate smaller things like dolphins. So there are fossilized cetacean bones that basically have evidence of megalodon tooth marks in them. So as a megalodon bit into something, it left a mark in the bone, that bone fossilized, and now we're like, wow, this was a cetacean and it was eaten by a megalodon. That's really cool.
Cool.
That's amazing.
So knowing that they can eat big things and also small things, I think one individual time-traveling megalodon, diet-wise, may be able to survive for a while. But many megalodons, probably not. I'm personally not convinced that there's enough food around for them anymore. And I just don't think that our ecosystem could sustain a huge population or a huge species level number of megalodons. But again, one individual time-traveling shark, just looking at diet, I think that they would probably be able to survive for a little while.
Okay.
But again, looking at how big our large animals are now, almost all of them, at least in the ocean, are filter feeders. So could a 60-foot long predatory shark be able to survive today? I'm not convinced it would.
Cool. I mean, uncool for them, but
Uncool
neat
for
for
the
our
megalodon.
audience to be able to know that.
Are you also thinking this might support that Megalodon is in fact once and for all really gone forever? This idea that
Yeah, sure.
even if one did exist today,
It's
it
not.
probably
I don't think it'll
couldn't
survive.
live very long.
No. Yeah, they're gone. And also, I love to tell people how I know this. People are like, well, how do you know it didn't evolve to live in the deep ocean? And I'm like, because it would have to make so many changes to itself after being a coastal shark that what it would be in the deep ocean is no longer the same species. It is not a megalodon anymore. And also, every megalodon tooth we have ever found has been fossilized, meaning that every megalodon that lived and all of its teeth fell out has been dead long enough for the teeth to fossilize, which is a long time. So they're gone.
We're not finding any fresh teeth.
No.
Do you think that sharks dream about losing their teeth and it's not as big a deal for them because they just lose them all the time? You know,
Oh my
'cause,
God,
when we
that's-
dream about losing our teeth, it's very stressful. But for
Yeah.
a shark, maybe it's just oh God, thank God I lost that one. That one is really annoying.
Yeah,
and they wake
that
up
one
and they're
was
like, oh, it's
broken.
still there. Oh, it's like the opposite.
They're hoping to lose their
They
teeth.
just
Yeah,
want
that's
their
so
teeth
funny.
to fall out. That would be like a happy dream.
I love that for them. Not for me. I have tooth dreams all the time. All
Really?
the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe
they're
it's because
rough.
I had braces for 3.5 years.
I have them
And
for 5.
I'm just,
I know the feeling.
yeah, I'm just terrified. I'm also a chronic ice chewer, so I know that my teeth are not doing well, I'm sure.
If only we could grow more. If only.
Yeah. I didn't even get wisdom teeth. What the heck, man?
Well,
Well,
maybe you
I'm
got some
actually really
backups
glad I
in there.
didn't get wisdom teeth.
Yeah. Do you think shark parents are really concerned about having to pay their kids like when the tooth fairy shows up? Like that's probably a real financial burden.
You're gonna bankrupt that poor family. Good thing they don't have a lot of parental.
Yeah, no, they don't.
Really care. They're just like, I don't care that you lost a tooth. Stop following me, or I'm gonna have your brother bite you in half.
I will literally eat you if you don't leave me alone.
Leave.
I wish your brother had eaten you in the womb instead.
That's exactly That's what I was thinking. The
so
ultimate deadbeat shark parent
Yeah.
insult. Wow.
So funny. So the final piece of this, I think, is to look at how the megalodon most likely went extinct. And one of the big theories is competition with the great white shark. So during the Pliocene is when the white shark appeared, and they are such a wonderful predator. And that's really bad news for the megalodon. So basically the idea is that the white shark was just out competing the megalodon for resources, and the megalodon couldn't keep up, and so they died. So keeping in mind that today white sharks still exist, and they're in many different places, if your biggest competitor is still here and you haven't been practicing, you've been actually dead and in the fossil record, you're not winning the competition anymore. You shouldn't have died. You should have been practicing and, working on your speed, and you haven't been, and that's on you. That's on you.
Ugh. Come on,
Very
Maggie.
judgmental over demanding parents. Like,
Yeah.
you shouldn't have died. You should have been studying.
Yeah.
Should have been.
Yeah.
You want to know why that shark's great?
Yeah.
Did his homework.
I literally had a conversation with
Practiced.
Hank Green about this where I was like, we should just start calling all sharks great because they're all wonderful. Let's not take great away from the white shark. Let's make all sharks great because everyone, we don't need to tear anyone down to pull anyone up with us.
I thought the great white had evolved from the, it's okay shark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a fine shark,
That's fine.
I guess.
The okay white shark, and then there was the
fine
really
white
good white shark.
The good enough white
Then
shark.
there was probably, because we know how taxonomy works, the good shark, and then they were like, no, just shorten it to great shark. We don't need two sharks in there.
Exactly.
Well, so that also means then, everybody in pop culture is afraid of the Meg, right? Like, Rainn Wilson's going to get eaten by the Meg. Oh, no. But if the great white is a better predator enough to, outcompete the Meg, I'm more worried about the great white now.
Same.
Well, don't be worried. They're so nice.
Oh, okay.
Okay, no, okay.
Well, that and I live on land, but,
Yeah.
Fun fact, you're more likely to get bitten by a New Yorker in New York than you are to get bitten by a shark in the ocean. Which,
Oh, no.
I don't really know how much that's actually saying.
how are they tracking the stats in New York? Trace, watch out.
I'm going to get some paper and go down into town and see what's happening down there.
Yeah.
Who's biting
Yeah.
people?
Start
Exactly.
studying.
It's me.
Who's doing
No,
all the biting?
I don't even live in New York. I just go and bite people for fun.
It's
It's a
just
nice
Jada.
hobby.
She takes the plane,
just to
lands,
cite this
bites
stat.
someone, and then
Yes.
leaves. No, I think she's doing it to pad the stat so that she
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
say this stat.
Yeah.
She has to go bite people every year just to make
Absolutely.
sure. Okay, there were 12 shark bites this year. Here I come, New York. 13.
All
Like,
Exactly.
gotta make it
my
more
goal.
likely.
You're more likely to get bitten in New York by me.
Exactly. So watch out. No, but I mean, I think people get really nervous about sharks, which I totally understand. Shark bites happen. They're not malicious. The problem is that they have big, sharp teeth, and we are squishy and soft. And so it doesn't always end well for us. But sharks often bite for a couple different reasons. One, because of, they're potentially investigating something that they don't understand what it is. Similar to a dog, they're going to use their mouth because they don't have hands. Or because of a case of mistaken identity, I guess.
Easy superpower, hands, shark
Yeah.
hands. There you go. That would have been so much
Shark
better.
hands.
That would have been a fun one.
Yeah.
Also, probably not the most realistic, but that's
No,
okay.
but easier to put mittens on them.
Yeah. But then we also have, cases of mistaken identity, quote unquote. Like if you're on a surfboard and you're swimming around, you're wearing a black wetsuit, you probably look like a seal or a sea turtle. And you, of course, out of all the seals that you are swimming around, are 100% going to be the slowest one. So
Yeah.
that's just, smart thinking by the shark. And then it realizes, hey, that's a surfboard and some other squishy thing that I didn't want. I don't want it.
Ew,
People get
gross.
bitten by sharks. They don't get eaten by sharks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and also think about the number of like millions of people that go into the ocean every year and how many shark bites occur. We're looking at like 20 shark bites worldwide with probably 4 or 5 fatalities around the entire globe. So truly, your chances of getting struck by lightning are much higher. Your chances of being killed by a dog or a coconut falling from a tree or a flying champagne cork or a vending machine or a cow, all of those things you're more likely to get killed by than a shark. So I just want to put that in perspective.
I'm just picturing Jaida in a coconut tree, cutting the coconut tree, throwing a champagne cork at somebody. She's like, throws a frog at somebody's head, and she's like, oh, death by frog. More likely.
Antagonizing cows.
Pushing cows over.
I'm the shark advocate number 1. You'll see me out here causing deaths by really weird ways so that I can add statistics to my list.
You're the one pushing over all those vending machines.
Yeah.
This makes so much sense.
For legal reasons, this is a joke and I have killed no one. Yet. No.
Oh, no one listens to this show. Don't worry.
More people should. I listened to your episode earlier, the one with the broccoli dog. I don't remember the whole title. But you guys went on a whole rant about what colors notebooks should be for school. And I have strong disagreements with you all.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
So I'm just putting that out there. We'll talk about that later, yeah.
Let's take a break and come back with another question.
All right, welcome back to That's Absurd. Please elaborate. We've covered 2 of our 3 questions in our Shark Spectacular. And now, Trace, you have the final one today. What's your question? Who's it from?
My question comes from Tom, who writes, what does it smell like underwater? Tom elaborated, it's often been said in shark documentaries I watched as a kid that they're able to smell blood a long distance away, so could humans also smell underwater, and is our sense of smell different from that of a shark? Okay, Tom. Smelling is very cool. 700 million years ago, ancient fish evolved the ability to smell. Now we can smell. So is it different? Not really. The function is the same. Receptors bind with things that are in the water, telling ancient animals information about their surroundings. I read several different sources all about what it might smell like, because this is not a question, believe it or not, that science has really looked into.
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Shock me like an electric ray.
I was just going to make that joke.
Yes!
One source said it would be a very smelly soup. So what is a nose? Sharks also have these.
A nose by any other name would still smell as sweet.
Julian. That's great.
Sorry.
Its main purpose is chemoreception, right? It's picking out what's happening around it. In a human, or a lot of terrestrial animals, this is detecting a volatile airborne chemical. But when it comes to animals underwater, they do have a sense of quote unquote smell. We refer to it as such. But if you think about it, is it smell, or is it some other sense that we also have? Taste. How are they different?
The taste doesn't float in the air. It's all together in the food.
Oh. Eloquently stated, Julian. Thank you.
Really
I
good.
do science communication for a living. I'm very eloquent.
I like that. Taste is all together in the
Taste
food.
taste no float.
Taste no float.
Smell float. Taste no float.
Taste no float.
Yeah. Haven't you ever seen the cartoons smell make you float? Like to
That's
pie.
right.
Smell make
Where you float off the
with
ground.
pie
and
on
you, pick
windowsill.
it all up.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there was this 2014 study in Frontiers in Chemistry that actually looked at land or terrestrial species and how they smell versus underwater things and how they, quote unquote, smell. And they laid it out as 2 different ways of doing the same thing. Airborne or hydrophobic, different volatile chemicals versus non-volatile waterborne or aqueous chemicals. And on land, we use smell for the that over there sense. And we use taste for the right here on top of my tongue sense. But underwater, it's sort of the opposite. We use smell for what's happening right here and taste for what's happening over there. I have a graphic that I can show you from this paper. And this is not, by the way, from a biologist necessarily. It's from, again, Frontiers in Chemistry. So it's not exactly thinking of it in terms of taxonomy or how these animals actually function, but it is looking at it in terms of how they behave and where their receptors work. It's a very interesting graphic. What do you think of this?
Finally, Trace, finally, I am a member of a Facebook group called Science Diagrams That Look Like Posts.
Yes.
And I am so happy to have something to finally contribute.
You can definitely contribute this, because it's just...
what is happening?
Can you please... Jaida, can you describe figure 1 from this Frontiers in Chemistry 2014 paper, please?
Sure. So this is an image that I can only assume was made in Microsoft Paint. There's a gull. The top is light blue. It's the sky. The bottom is dark blue. It is the ocean. In said ocean, we see rock. We see coral with orange dots, which means smell. And then we see an eel for some reason, and also a shark. And all around them are blue dots, which means taste. Then in the air, we have also a rock. Mouse on rock. Mouse eats strawberry. Strawberry blue because taste. And then everything else around it. Orange dots everywhere. Orange dots smell. And also a bee for some reason. I don't know why he's pollinating the strawberries, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. They really wanted that full ecosystem.
I think that mouse might be an Onychomys leucanagaster.
Onychomys leucanagaster.
Onychomys leucanagaster.
I love
They're trying to take me smell.
That's really good. Yes, this is a very strange diagram. What I took away from this, and I'm going to read you a quote from the paper, is that, quote, underwater, tactile detection is characterized as taste, even when the chemical signals are exactly the same as those that are smelled by land animals. So again, they're looking at it from the framing of the chemicals the same, so why call taste smell? So what I'm going to do for the rest of this piece is call it smaced. And it's just the same thing. Doesn't matter. We're smaced in stuff. Either it's floating in the air or it's floating in the water, but we're smaced in it. It's our new sense of smell and taste smushed together. What do you guys think?
Yeah, why not? Might as well happen. I don't know.
I am confusion. I'm still stuck on this image because truly this figure doesn't give me anything.
It gives nothing.
It's terrible.
No. Yep. It does give that you're supposed to swap them because there's a legend that tells you.
And that could have been said. I don't know that it needed to be depicted. I'm glad that it was, though, because it's a laugh.
It's one of those where it's the meme of Willem Dafoe, and it says, I'm somewhat of a graphic designer myself.
Graphic design is my passion. See?
Yeah, that's the one.
Taste is orange.
Yeah.
Smell
Taste is orange.
Blue.
Oh, anyway. Okay. So let's break it down for real now. Underwater, you can't really smell using the nose that we terrestrial animals have. But water is a fascinating substance in that every milliliter of water is 96.5% H2O, 2.5% salts, and 1% approximately of dissolved things. Those dissolved things are a lot of different things, from inorganic stuff like carbon, bromide, boron, strontium, fluoride, phosphorus, and nitrogen, and organic things like carbohydrates, amino acids, and organic rich particulate matter. There's also, of course, atmospheric gases, things like oxygen, nitrogen, argon, and carbon dioxide. And that information, if you think of all of that, is information about where the water has been or what it's been around. There would be a lot of things that you could understand about your environment just by being able to sense what's in the water, which makes sense why animals that live in water would be able to do that. It's a very dense information environment. And I say that because in comparison, dry air has almost none of that stuff in it. Dry air is 99.9998% regular old air, which of that it's 78% nitrogen, 21% O2, 0.9% argon, and 0.04% CO2. That's it. Those four things make up 99.9998% of all the air in a dry environment. Wetter air, of course, has water vapor in it, up to about 4% water vapor. But there are other things in air: neon, helium, methane, krypton, hydrogen, xenon, ozone, iodine, carbon monoxide, ammonia, like all sorts of stuff, not to mention the water vapor. But if you think about them as comparative fluids, one is 1% interesting stuff, and the rest of it's water and salt. The other one is 0.0001 or 2% interesting stuff. So water is a pretty dense medium to send information around. And I have to, of course, mention sharks that can, quote unquote, smell blood in the water. Again, we could call it smasting if we want, because they are sucking in water through the little nose holes in the front of, what is it, a face? We call it a face, a snout? The bow of the shark? Snout.
The bow. I like bow.
The business end?
The bow.
That feels fun.
The bow of the shark. The business end. The ventral side of the head. Biology,
Ventral
I
is
don't know.
underneath.
Got it. So bow
Yeah.
ventral. Bow ventral side. Anyway. So
Sure. The front.
So the front
part.
There are holes in the front of the shark, and inside the holes is their olfactory organs. Their olfactory organs have lots and lots and lots and lots of folds in them. Depending on the species, of course, we've already been through. There's lots of different species. However, there is a really cool picture that I found, again, in another study, which is really awesome. This is from a study in the American Association of Anatomy, where they looked at the olfactory organs of a specific species of shark, which is really cool. Julian, can you describe what you're looking at?
It looks to me like we've got slides, like microscope slides of tissue, and there's two varieties. One's been dyed pink and one's been dyed purple. And the pink one is much more kind of freeform squiggly, while the purple is much more, it's still squiggly, like artistic expression, but like the artist was much more rooted in like patterns, and the first artist was way more avant-garde. So it's like a Yoko Ono on top and like Andy Warhol on the bottom.
I mean, that's
That good?
actually incredibly accurate.
I like that.
Thank you.
For stylistically. This is from a study where they looked at 21 different species of sharks and also rays, actually, to look at their olfactory organs, which are basically a series of folds. Lots and lots and lots of folded pieces, which you can look at the second picture if you want. The second picture I have here, I think, makes a lot of sense. This is more just for fun.
Oh.
Wait. You did the exhibit meme.
It's the exhibit meme, but with a shark.
Why did you trick me into thinking this was going to be a figure from a peer-reviewed paper?
Scientific. No. It's very much giving ecological memes. What is that page? You know what I'm talking about.
Wild green memes.
Wild
for
green memes,
ecological
for sure.
tunes or something.
Thank you. That one.
You know that exhibit meme where somebody takes a thing that they really like, and then they have a lot of those things, so somebody makes a joke from that old... Jaida, did you ever see the show Pimp My Ride?
Oh, God.
Oh my God, yeah.
Okay, so the joke in every Pimp My Ride was like the beat up car's owner had one personality trait. They liked ping pong.
Yeah.
And so like they would put a ping pong table in like the trunk of their car, you know, or something. So when you park and pull it up, like you'd have a ping pong table or something ridiculous. And the host of the show, rapper Exhibit, would always be like, "Yo, dog, we heard you like ping pong. So we put a ping pong table inside your ping pong table so you can play ping pong while you're playing ping pong," or something like that.
That was
Love
actually really good. Yeah.
Trace has done that, but with a shark's face and folds.
Yeah. And it says, "Yo, shark, I heard you like olfactory folds, so evolution gave you folds on your folds."
I like that it's spelled SHAWK, shock.
Right,
Shock.
because it's like dog. He would
'Cause
always
it's
say
like dog.
DAWG, but
Yeah.
we're talking to a shark.
Shock.
So
Yo,
it's
shock.
shock.
Which just sounds Boston, I guess. Yo,
Yeah,
shark.
that's how they say it where Jada's studying.
Yeah, they're literally like, "Oh, have you heard about..." That went Australia. "Have you heard about the shocks?" And I'm like, "Oh,
Wow.
friggin' shocks."
The friggin' Shacks are playing the Bruins this week.
Oh, God. We're back to hockey. Stop it.
I forgot that existed.
Wow.
Never.
Wow. So I bring all this up just to say, essentially, that their olfactory system has a lot of different folds, and it is well adapted to detect a limited number of odorants, but a very high sensitivity. All of those little folds are touching physically the water, which is why, again, you can kind of conflate taste and smell. Not that because they're literally tasting the water as it flows by all of these little folds. The number of neurons in the olfactory epithelium, according to this paper, is 16 to 158 times the number of neurons in their olfactory bulb, which is pretty cool. So all of these little folds have a ton of different sensational neurons in them. So they can detect what they have, which is why when they say, oh, there's just like a drop of blood, like tiny parts per million, and the shark can tell, because it's got this finely tuned folded system to be able to detect that. However, if you put, ham, they might not be able to detect ham. I don't know. It depends if there's any heme in it or blood or whatever it is that they're specifically going to detect.
Ham, no heme. Sorry.
Yeah, no heme. Sorry, no heme in that ham.
No heme, just ham.
Hemin'. So above water, your and my nose is really, I think, what Tom is getting at. What would we smell if we could smell water, right? And for us, the nose is not really smasting things. It's more of a just a smell, just a smelly thing. It's the that over there sense. So up behind your nose, up in the top of your nasal cavity, is the olfactory epithelium. It's got 4 million different smell cells divided into about 400 different types, and they can sense about 10,000 different smells, they think. It's really cool, actually, to think about, because you are physically touching everything that you are smelling, because the little teeny particles have to literally bind with the sensory things inside of your face. And then the mucous membrane gets cleaned out and it gets washed down your throat into your stomach. So when you smell Julian's stinky farts,
that's what, yeah,
you're
that's
literally,
exactly.
You kind of are literally smasting. You're literally smasting them.
That's why I didn't like where that was going.
Yep.
Yep.
It is cool also.
No, go for it.
No, please.
My thought wasn't well thought out yet.
Unlike all the other thoughts so far on this show.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think one of the biggest barriers for the fact that we can't smell underwater is not necessarily the way our nose functions, but the fact that our lungs are attached. And that,
you got it. That's where I'm about to go. So I think I'm really glad you bring that up. So essentially, each receptor, again, binds to just one thing. And so we have to smell a lot of stuff. You have to suck in a lot of air in order to smell things. Unlike something that's more specified for water, where it's just flowing past all of these different folds constantly because they're constantly moving through water, and that's not going to hurt them. However, if you or I went and sucked a bunch of water into our nose, that would not be awesome, because in part we have evolved to connect how we breathe to our nose, because that's where most of our air is being moved around.
That's such a poor design, by the way.
It really is. Bad design.
Ugh,
yes,
right?
quote unquote design.
Exactly.
But like, I've seen videos of gulls just wolfing down entire rabbits. And I'm like, you can do that because you don't have to continue to breathe. But when I watch my 2-year-old nephew drink water and he's choking on it, I'm like, how did we get here? We've evolved from the coolest organisms ever, and we share lineage with so many, and I see the way these other animals can do things. I'm like, we can't even drink water without almost dying for the first year and a half of our lives. This is so awful. Anyway, I just had to go off on that rant. It irritates the crap out of me.
Grape time. I liked your gripe time.
Thank you.
Did you know that human fetuses can detect odorous molecules in the amniotic fluid? So we can smell fluid.
This is just another reason to never want to be pregnant, because then I'm going to be embarrassed by what did the inside of my amniotic sac smell like?
Be like, oh, I ate something and it's kind of gross. Uh-oh. They're going to have to smell that. There was a 2005 study about how the amniotic fluid contains odorants from the stuff that you eat. But also, the fluids are very similar to the milk and colostrum that the body makes. So the baby, once born, can detect the odorants again. So it's like, oh, hey, that's my, parents' milk, which is pretty cool.
It's like a familiar smell that they can recognize from before they were born?
Yeah. Isn't that cool? But when they were still fetuses.
This is blowing my mind.
Isn't that awesome? This is a 2005 study. I didn't go and look up 10 other studies to confirm it, but this was, at least according to this one study, that's what they think. Yeah.
That
Really
is
neat,
very
right?
cool, but I am it gross a little.
It is also gross. And to your point about your 2-year-old nephew, you're not choking on the amniotic fluid. You're literally breathing it. Like at the time, it's not interfering with your breathing system. It is your breathing system.
Don't we have lungs in the womb?
Our blood's getting oxygenated by our mother's
Right.
right. There's an exchange, right?
Yes.
So
through the placenta. Yeah.
through the placenta, yeah. So we don't need to worry about actually. Obviously, like you're not gonna be able to inhale air inside the womb, right? So
Right.
that's how you're getting your oxygen.
Well, unless there's a really bad problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That would be, you should probably go to a doctor.
Fetus is opening a window because it smells in there. It's like,
What did you eat?
ah.
There are animals that are terrestrial that can smell underwater, however. For example, whales used to be terrestrial and then they went back into the ocean. Baleen whales have a totally functional olfactory system. Works. Totally works. Studies of their anatomy, their anatomical, and even gene studies say that it works, and yet they cannot use it underwater. It only works with the air.
Oh, that sounds useless.
It's like, you're like, come on, why do you have this?
Maybe that's why they keep wanting to go back under the surface because they come up and it's like, oh, it smells like.
Oh, it stinks
dead
like
fish
human up here.
Ah.
Smells like up dog in here.
Wait, Jada, what's up, dog?
Ah, what's up with you? Sorry.
We say up shock now.
What?
Up shock.
Oh, shock.
Up shock.
What's up,
Shack.
shock?
What's up, shock?
Shock.
That's literally,
like-
I'm just going to start, every time I bite a carrot now, and be like, what's up, Shaq? Instead of
What's up, Shock?
What's up, shock? I found a neat study in the Proceedings of Biological Sciences that talked about how, tetrapods, we branched off, and then they made amniotes, and the amniote is this limbed vertebrate that is all of the reptile, bird, and mammal. And some of those returned to aqueous environments, again, after being terrestrial, like, for example, sea snakes. So they looked at and sequenced the genome of some sea snakes and some close relatives, which are terrestrial snakes, and they found that the sea snake genome had several mutations on their olfactory receptors, and they lost a bunch of their olfactory receptor genes. They think that they have a degenerated sense of smell, which is interesting because snakes also blur that line between smell and taste. They're more smasters with their little, tongue situation and their Jacobson's organ that they rub their tongue on to sense the world. They also do inhale through cute little nostrils, but these are all animals that can do both. And I keep coming back to this because smasting is cool if we think about it. We're physically absorbing information from the fluids that we are around, which is pretty awesome. There are also some semi-aquatic mammals. For example, the beautiful, the amazing, the incredible water shrew.
I thought you were going to go with hippopotamus.
Me too. I was all Team Hippo.
I love. I'm down for a water shrew.
And the star-nosed mole. What about the star-nosed mole?
Yeah.
You like that
Oh,
one
cutie.
better? Yeah,
Them's
fun.
cute.
They're kind of weird looking. But they live on land and they go in their water nearby to hunt for food. They eat little fish and earthworms. The star-nosed mole eats earthworms. And the nose doesn't really work when you go underwater. So what they do is they blow bubbles in the water and inhale the bubbles. They do this between 8 and 12 times a second so that their olfactory system still works with the air that they're blowing out. Hopefully they don't have bad breath, but because they're just inhaling their own breath, but also whatever was in the water that they've blown, which is it's just cool and smart.
That's wicked.
Right?
Oh.
And they're not the only ones that do it. The Eurasian otter, which lives off the Shetland Islands, does it too to help smell where the fish and the crab are and try and figure stuff out. Really amazing.
I'm just thinking of the mechanics of that. And in my head, it's the same thing that dogs do when they're sniffing something.
Yeah.
And it's just really fast. You know what I mean?
Like that.
I'm really glad that we all did that together.
Yeah, I'm glad too. I feel closer to
It's an audio medium, right?
Yeah, you gotta.
So they're all just going to be sitting there oh my God, I don't like this.
So, again, no one knows what this would smell like. So I'd love to hear your opinion, both of you, when it comes to smasting. However, while you think about your opinion, I looked up what chemical manuals show the different things that are dissolved in the ocean would smell like if we could smell them, or when we do smell them in volatile situations or in aqueous situations. So oxygen, nitrogen, argon, carbon, bromide, boron, strontium, fluoride, phosphorus, they're all tasteless and odorless. So there's no smasting in that group. However, the organic ones, there's a study from 1962, found that 17 different acids were dissolved in seawater, amino acids, and one of them is glutamic acid, which means that specific amino acid tastes umami, brothy, and meaty. You might have heard of monosodium glutamate.
That's
acid.
what I was thinking,
yes.
yeah.
So maybe the ocean just tastes frickin' delicious, and by taste I mean smells, so smastes. James Kennedy, really cool guy, he made this really neat chart I'm putting in the chat. This is a what amino acids smell like chart, which is pretty cool. Much better at graphic design than the last guys.
I was going to make a joke. I was like, oh, wow, he used the same orange and blue dots. That's amazing.
So this one has everything from alkanes and alkenes to alcohols and aldehydes and ketones, carboxylic acids and halocalic and nitron, lactose. Anyway, we're just looking at the amines. So they all smell, surprise, surprise, fishy. They all smell fishy because it's more like the taste like chicken thing from our dinosaur episode. It's not so much that they smell fishy. We just associate the two together because that's also likely part of what the ocean would smaste like.
I'm kind of stuck over on the alkenes part of the chart where it's the whole column is all like gasoline pumps for the logo. So I assume it means they smell like gasoline, but half of them have like a sick face, but then like a quarter of them have like a happy face.
Yeah. And one has a lollipop.
Yeah. Like if you huff this gasoline, you'll feel great. Like is what I'm getting from this chart with no key to decipher a lot of these symbols.
Excellent. It's really very good.
I also am looking at in the aldehydes, there's just randomly an old man with a thumbs up to indicate this smells like old people. I really
it does kind of look like
there is an old man with a thumbs up.
I didn't see that one before.
Oh my gosh,
but I like that
it
kind of looks like Bill Nye's cousin.
Like
it's not Bill Nye,
thing.
but it's like Bill Nye's cousin Fred, you know?
It says old people. Yeah, Fred Nye.
Fred Nye, everybody knows him. So I bring that up to say that's probably another one of the smells or smastes you're going to get in the ocean is kind of a, not surprisingly, a fishy smell. Not in the way that we're thinking, though, because fish only smell that way because of the bacteria and some of the chemicals that are inside of fish muscles when they're exposed to oxygen. Fish don't smell fishy underwater, really. So it's really just the amino acids, whichever one happens to be around you at the time. A long time ago, Julian did an episode of D News about CO2 and what happens if you leave water out overnight because it makes carbonic acid. And so we all know what that tastes like because when CO2 dissolves in the ocean, it's going to have the same idea. It's going to taste like carbonic acid. Carbohydrates in the ocean come from sea life, so seaweeds, sea organisms, and they mostly produce polysaccharides. So if you're near a seaweed or like a kelp forest, you might taste kind of, or smaced Swedish, kind of. Not Swedish like meatballs, sweet.
It's like
Swedish
fish?
Swedish fish. And it would taste like IKEA. And then...
Yeah, where is Swedish fish on this chart?
And then shallower places where there's a lot of fish swimming around and other life, you know, they all poop and pee and whatever else. So not just what's in the water, but also what's floating in it. Sand sharks and herring both fart, I guess, but most fish don't fart. But fish do the pee-pee and the poo-poo. So, you know, if you're swimming around, you're probably going to get some of that smaced as well. So all this is to say, let's paint a picture for our audience, you guys. Think of something, and then think of what it would smaste like when you're underwater, you know? Let's say we're in like a warmish, tropical, but not too hot environment so that the water can hold a lot more smastes, you know, because warmer water has better dissolving properties. Most smastes would be undetectable, but, you know, maybe a school of fish just swam by pooping as it goes, and you're like, oh, it smells like, you know, I don't know, you drive by a farm and you smell like that cow manure. Maybe that's the smaste you get when you get near there. Or like freshly eaten plant matter. So it has that like kind of fresh grass smell, maybe, because it smells like plant. So like a polysaccharide, kind of a sweet smell, maybe.
I'm thinking of like if you go to a certain beach and it smells kind of sulfury, you know? It's like that. But then make it stronger, because here's the thing. If you've ever just like been chilling on the couch and you fart, you're like, okay, ew. Then if you were to take a shower and you fart in the shower, it smells so much stronger.
So much worse.
Wow,
Right.
you guys.
It's something to do with like the water vapor and like, so given that, I think that if we were able to smell underwater without drowning, I think everything would smell stronger.
Way stronger.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking, like, do I know exactly what it would smell like? No. But imagine if you're on a beach, especially if you're like, it's like a sulfury type of beach. Now smell that, but like times 5.
Yeah, yeah. And also, remember, water can hold a lot more. That's probably why a fart smells worse in the water of the shower, because it like gets into the water vapor, and then you breathe in the water vapor, and the water vapor hits your olfactory systems and just... there's a lot more
And
of
then
it.
just releases fart particles all
up in
inside
there.
of your head.
All up in
Smears
there.
them inside.
Yeah.
I also hear that your sense of smell is more sensitive with water. Maybe it's because it carries more, but like for whatever reason, like after it rains, you know, like you're a lot more sensitive
Yes,
to smells
and
that
like
sort of
dry
thing.
air carries less volatile stuff in it. There's a reason why like those the top 4 things in air, they measure them in dry air, and it's like 99.9998% these 4 things. Wet air has a bunch of different stuff in it. Like you can get particulates in the water vapor, and it carries a lot more stuff because it's got that moisture to hang on to. So it does increase your sense of smell. It's why Jaida and I live where it can be wintry and it doesn't smell as nice. Like things don't really have a smell much outside in the winter. Whereas in the summer, man, everything has smells. So it's a lot. So anyway, what does the underwater smell like? I'm going to say like outside, right? Like when you are outside, if you are outside in a forest or outside in a field or outside by the beach or outside on top of a mountain, all those places smell different because of what gets kicked up into the air. And in this case, it's what gets, kind of swirled up into the water. So you're smasting a whole environment of stuff around you because smell, or in this case, smaced, is a that over there sense. It's not the it's touching me sense in taste, right, when we're outside in the air. But when you're underwater, it's both. It's a little bit of smell, a little bit of taste. So you're going to get kind of a mix, a cornucopia of all sorts of different things.
A nice cornucopia of marine snow, which is just dead debris and poop particles, which is way less cool than what it sounds like.
Yeah.
That's probably why they call it marine snow.
Yeah.
Picturing like a little crab family at the very bottom of the sea, like, Daddy, are we going to have snow for Christmas this year? Well, I sure hope so, son. And then like he opens his windows and there's like, it's snowing. And then like on the surface, there's just this rotting whale carcass.
Yeah.
And they go out and mom's like, oh, delicious. Eat up, kids.
I caught some on my tongue.
They're making snow angels in the marine snow with their little crab bodies. So they look horrific. I just imagine it would smell like if you ever go to a fish section of your local grocery store.
Yeah, but that
like
smell
that.
smell is the fish reacting with oxygen. They're not going to do that underwater. So
True.
I don't know.
Have you ever swallowed seawater on accident?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it
not on accident. But
Well,
yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't recommend drinking it on purpose, but it tastes so
There was
bad.
water everywhere. You gonna tell me I'm not gonna drink it?
Anyway, so Tom, what does water smell like? I don't know. Ask a shark. Ask something that can smell underwater. Ask a sea snake. Ask a cute little otter that blows little bubbles and sniffs them in so it can smell where the crabs are.
That's so cute.
Yeah, unfortunately for us, we can't do that.
No.
Because Julian didn't give us that superpower, you jerk.
Yeah.
I wasn't asked about humans. Well, that is going to do it for this episode of That's Absurd. Please elaborate. The show was written, produced, hosted, created by Trace Dominguez.
And by Julian Huguet, except for, of course, the part that was written by Jaida Elcock.
Hi.
Jada, thanks for being here.
Yay!
Thanks for having me.
Jada, where can people find you and the things that you do?
Yeah, you can find me all over the place. Check me out on socials, Instagram and YouTube are sophistication_, like fish, so fishtication. It's a pun. Hee. YouTube, Instagram, and Threads are sophistication_. TikTok and Blue Sky are just sophistication. And hopefully I'll have a website up soon too, so that you can learn more about some of the science that I do and all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, check me out.
Sweet.
The show was also edited by a man who actually can smell underwater. We should have just asked him how it works.
Yeah.
Kyle Sisk.
Our website and social is in part helped by our associate producer, Sabrina Capello. And our music is thanks to Epidemic Sound.
Thank you to listeners who submitted questions featured in this episode. Tom, Hannah, who got us again.
Jeez, Hannah!
And of course, Jaida, who asked the question that I answered. If you would like to submit questions, we made it easy for you. There's a form down in our show notes, or you can email us at hello@that'sabsurdshow.com. You can visit our website, that'sabsurdshow.com/ask. You can call us at 302-TAPE-SHOW. That's TAPESHO. Yeah, we have to do that because one listener asked us to keep doing it now.
That's really funny.
But we could not do the show without you all asking these very silly questions that we then have to go and take very seriously. So we thank you for that.
Thank you also to our patrons, our absurd administrators, Adam, Les, Austin, Jonathan, Evan, Dan, Sabrina, The Brain, and Silver Skies. Keep us going every day and help pay for this show. And of course, we must thank our preposterous producer, Pinky of the House Patreon, first of your name, the ridiculous, the king of the absurd, the reruns in the first episodes, Bard of Aronson, Khaleesi of the Great Nerdy Cave, Spelunker of the Realm, Master of the Chill upon the Chill, Regent of the Underworlds, True Knower of the Thumbnail, and Mother of Dagrons, and Shocks.
Shocks too.
Don't forget the Shocks. Smart
Shocks.
Pinky has said that he wants to make, because he's a musician, he wants to make a song every time we say great band name. And I think we did that like 2 or 3 times this episode. And I feel so bad every time we add a new one now. We're just adding to Pinky's workload.
Amazing.
But because of the support of our patrons, we've been able to do a ton of cool stuff. We did that live show.
Yeah.
We may be invited to do another one again soon. So that's should
right.
be fun.
Stay
Fingers
tuned.
crossed. And yeah, it just supports the pod and helps us a lot. So thank you all. You can also leave us a review wherever you are. I think you all know how to do that. You can also check out our YouTube. We have a link down in our show notes.
And finally, a special thanks to those listening on Nebula, because you help support the show just by doing the thing you're doing right now, listening to the show. Nebula listeners get access to ad-free versions of the episodes. If you want to join Nebula, you can go to go.nebula.tv/that'sabsurdshow. By joining, you're going to support the show, and you can watch a bunch of other amazing creators and learn all sorts of really cool stuff, and even see our mugs on video if you want. But like we say at the end of every single episode of this show, our calling card, our catchphrase, Shocks.
Yo,
Shocks.
dog.
Yo, Shock, I heard you like olfactory folds, so evolution gave you folds on your folds, so you can maced.
As we always say, orange, smell, blue, taste.
Correct.
So, yeah. It's official. It's in a diagram.
I did find this really interesting shark poem in this book that I have.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I hear it's unhinged.
Think of a leopard way up in a tree, eating a carcass with much joy and glee. Or maybe some wolves running round with their packs, just howling at moons and sniffing their cracks. How about an otter eating urchins galore? Good thing! 'Cause without them, kelp forests would be no more. What do these creatures all happen to share? They're predators, duh. They eat meat, not eclairs. There are so many types in water, air, and land, and they matter to ecosystems, so give them a hand. I wonder which predator leaves you in awe, because sharks are the coolest predators I ever saw. Episode 237, Predators, poem by Jaida Elcock.
We say that at the end of every episode. I'm so glad you were here
wonderful.
to finally hear it.
Finally to hear it.
You didn't know, but yeah, we do that every time.
You really
was
pulled that out of
excellent.
nowhere. You started
was
reading
good.
it, and I was like, oh, I wrote that.
Amazing.